All right. Hi, Brandon. How are you?
What's going on, Danny? And welcome, viewers, to the seventh episode of the Tipped Out podcast.
7 already. Wow.
Big 7, great number, hosted by Dannychristygolf and Brandon Palmer from Balanced Performance. So today's talk is going to be the third episode regarding the basics around beginning to golf, or just establishing a little bit better understanding of the basics, because those are forever going to be the fundamentals of golf and always need to touch up. So this one is going to be on grip, and our last two were on, what do we have? Posture, alignment, and stance and posture.
Yeah.
Together, and then alignment.
Yep.
So, awesome.
Yeah, that's it. So let's just kick it off. Grip is your connection to the golf club. And I feel like a lot of times, as important as people make it, I think sometimes people forget how important it is and forget that really what your hands do in the golf swing is kind of transfer what you have in your body to the club. It's your connection to the club. And you can't overlook the importance of the way you use your hands and the coordination of your hands all the way like through your body, and really learning to have nice touch, feel, and club face awareness, really. So that being said, I think the first thing is grip pressure. Really important when we grip the golf club. So obviously, I think the tendency would be to grip it too tight.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that creates a lot of tension, not only in your hands, but then that runs all the way up your hands, arms, into your shoulders, and honestly can go to just about anywhere in the body.
Yeah,
So,
it's very difficult to maneuver the club, set the wrists, and also release the club back to square. So we want to eliminate as much tension as possible. And I've read or heard about a bunch of different methods if you grip the club too tight. Sometimes it could just be something that we forget about. You know, we are really working or grinding on something in our swing, and we also will remember that, you know, we're gripping the club incredibly tight. But I know some people who start their swing out by gripping the club pretty tight, so then they can release the pressure with their hands, and now they're kind of aware of the pressure.
So you're saying they start out and just squeeze the Jesus out of it?
0 to 10, they probably squeeze it around 9 or a 10, like an impulse or like a pulse, and then when they let go, now they regrip it at a more comfortable pressure. So if you're someone who struggles with grip pressure, or at least finding what is best, try that out. I know some tour professionals, or one in particular that I read about, the name slipped my mind, but he would like to grip the club tight when he putt. I don't know, that almost seems like it would be counterproductive to feel, but that's just something that worked for him. He said he could feel the club better, but I mean, anytime I've done that, I just lose feeling in the face. So it's definitely preference. But in general rule of thumb, it's definitely somewhere around a 5 or a 6 on the scale, I think, of how hard you grip it. But we have to make sure that we're not letting go of the club. You know, while we swing, there's a lot of force going on. So it will become greater and the club will become heavier as it moves through space. But that's just something that comes naturally.
So going back to squeezing it, why do you think people do that? In my head, the reason you would do that is to kind of feel what it's like for you to really squeeze it. I feel like that could be eye-opening to people, because sometimes they'll be like, wow, I can't squeeze it much tighter than I'm already squeezing. Yep. Do you think that's kind of what that's for?
Definitely, yeah. It's both a gauge to see where you're at right now, just to be aware of it, and then also to maybe have it be somewhat in your pre-shot routine if you're someone that, you know, forgets that often. You know, right when you get over the ball, do your couple waggles and then grip it. And once you start your swing, release a little bit, because a lot of times I think all this aggression is coming through. Well, when we grip it too tight, like we said, it goes through our arms, forearms, shoulders, into the back. But we could also, if you don't hover the club at address, sometimes a lot of players are putting force down on the club.
That's fair.
You know, either affecting lie angle or, you know, just kind of getting stuck in the backswing. So, and to even add on to that, it sometimes can just stem from trying to generate speed or power in the wrong areas. If
Yep.
we hit it with either the hands in a flippy way, or we don't do much of a turn and we just pick it up. We have to manufacture or prefabricate power when it isn't generated properly through a good turn, chest moving, and the counterbalancing of the lower body. So all things considered, yeah, definitely grip pressure is crucial. And those are a couple little things to check for yourself, because that might be something that is affecting your ball flight or just your scoring in general.
Yes, and one thing that I love to relate arm action in the golf swing to is throwing a ball in any way. So even if you take it out of golf posture and setup and you go to like throwing a baseball, you don't really grip it tight when you throw a baseball, right?
No.
No, right? Then that's a great way to look at it. So like if you're throwing a baseball or an MLB pitch, I mean, so like a two-seam fastball, right? They've mainly only got these two fingers on it for the most part. So, and it's lightly on it because it's really hard to grip it tight and then effectively let it go, right? So I think that's a good way to look at it. And we want to be swinging that club free, and that's the best way to do it. If we're actually losing speed if we grip it too tight.
No doubt. You want it to be the term that's often overused and not necessarily studied enough or known well enough by the common golfer is lag. Everyone's trying to search for lag. That's the big word right now. And it has been for a long time. But even if we take it back to baseball, a pitcher, when they throw, if they just had a little bit more front bend, it would look exactly like a golf swing. We shoulder stationary, that elbow moves in, and then last minute, we're going to release the wrist. Now, the wrists don't break down and pass by one another, but they do pass each other in relation to our body, and our body rotates with it. So, you don't see a pitcher throw a ball with a straight arm. It's all toward the lag, and it's the wrist, the power of the whipping motion of the wrist at the end. It's the same in golf. So you want all that power, that flick, to happen right at the end, like if you're going to snap a towel or tie a knot at the end of a bath towel and then swing that like a golf club. You're going to feel the pendulum, and what is lag is the movement of the club head around basically our wrist angles. So
totally. And there's no tension in your wrist. You just have to allow your wrist to fall back and stay behind with the club head, because the way the club head wants to be behind anyway.
definitely.
I think a lot of times the reason people are casting or whatever and losing their angle is just too much tension, trying to over control the ball, and they're really trying to guide the club onto the back of the ball, and they do that and they get tense in their hands and their arms. And I feel like that's a big leader of why people, or big reason I'd say, of why people don't lag it.
Yeah, definitely. We talk about when practicing, build up speed. So next time you go to the course, even though it may be snowy where you are, next time you get on the course or rewatch the podcast,
or swinging a club anyway.
Anytime you're just swinging a club, focus on your grip pressure, see where you're at with that on the scale, and then focus on where your tension in your body might be, and then just build speed up. Real slow, nice little half swings, very low power. Try and just snap the ball out there. Let all the lag and everything generate right to the bottom and through the ball. Don't hit to the ball, because a lot of people do that. They'll hit down on it. Now we have the handle too far forward. Our low point is too deep in the ground, and then we just stop right at it. So we can't do that. So generate it down, through it, ball, then turf. And I think you'll see a lot more distance and control if you allow your body and the club to do the work. So proper mechanics and pretty fluid swing. Trust me, it works. I hit the ball a lot better because of contact and centerness of contact, and just mechanics being better when I don't try and force power or distance. Let the club do the work. It's a lever. So
totally. All right, so then let's jump right to
the different types of grip.
let me just talk quick on gripping the club in your fingers.
Perfect.
That's very important. This again goes to kind of freedom of wrist movement and correct wrist movement. So another thing that amateurs struggle with, you'll see a lot, is guys tend to grip the club in the palms of their hands more than in their fingers, which you don't want to do. If you get the club too much in the palm of your lead hand or top hand on the club, it really limits and kind of ruins the way that your wrist should work. So it limits your wrist flexibility and how your wrist works in your swing, I guess is the best way I could say it. Do you have a better way of, I don't
No,
know.
that's to a T right there.
Okay, so then we definitely want to get it in your fingers. And then you'll even see then, I think that probably helps you get a little bit of a lighter grip.
100%.
And it helps the club kind of release easier as opposed to really pulling or dragging the handle of the club with your arms.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, think about it. We like the putter grip to be more in the lifeline of our hand, more in the palm, so that it can be an extension of our forearm. So when you look at a good putter, you'll see that the line from the shaft of the putter runs right up through their forearm like an extension. So when we see someone with a driver or even a wedge, which is a shorter club, you're going to see that angle be a little bit lower, and it almost it'll be a large angle and not more of a straight line. So different clubs call for different grips, but general rule of thumb, definitely everything besides putter I like definitely in the fingers.
In the simplest form, gripping in your fingers allows your wrist to work the proper way.
Proper and natural, yep. And it allows that speed that we're generating to be coming from the wrist. So that's another thing. If you're not feeling a good setting of the wrist, it could just be because you're gripping it in the lifeline of your hand.
Yep, totally. Okay. So then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. But yeah, that definitely affects club face as well, and how much we're controlling that, or just our club face awareness in general. So a lot of times those who hit a fade, a large fade or a slice with the golf ball tend to have that club in the palm of their hand. So sometimes it could be a simple fix like that, or even the grip pressure. So that will also hinder us from releasing the club properly, if we have wicked grip pressure or if the club is in the wrong part of our hand.
Totally. And then we will go right into, I feel like, the thing that people most learn about. So I feel like those two parts we just talked about are more basic and very important as opposed to the next part we're going to talk about. So these last two parts I feel are overlooked. And then there's strong, weak, neutral grip, which I feel like that's the first thing people like to jump to, bang, when they think of grip. Now, the simplest way to talk about these three grips would be weaker grips are going to tend to lead to a open club face. Our weak grips are related to an open club face at impact. Strong grips are related to a more shut face at impact, and a neutral grip is related to a more square face at impact. But there's definitely a lot of debate, I guess. I mean, there is no one right way to grip the club. The most important thing to understand is your grip needs to suit how you swing the club and how you use your arms in the golf swing and how you release the golf club.
Mm-hmm. And what you would like to see produced by your swing, like
exactly
height, shape, height, all different things like that. So
definitely. So that being said, it gets a can of worms for sure.
So we'll try and keep it as basic and simple today, and if it's requested in the future, we'll definitely go in more depth on this and all the different types of matchups or relations it has to the actual golf swing. But today we're just going to keep it nice and simple for our third episode on the basic series.
So do we want to talk quick about like supination and like, oh no, probably not.
No.
So essentially,
yeah.
Well, I mean, the weaker a grip is, right, the more forearm rotation there's going to be, essentially.
There's going to need to be in the through swing, I would say. Like, there never really needs to be forearm rotation in the backswing, in my opinion, really. Like I have I have more of a strong grip than a neutral grip between, and I'm more of like a top hand knuckles down in the backswing anyway. So my club face is strong, and then perpendicular, to my spine angle, or parallel to my spine angle. And then at the top of my swing, my wrist is almost a little bit bowed and the club face is shut. So then coming down, my chest and my hips are slightly more open to compensate for that and not to hit it left. So that can kind of be a little bit of a segue into talking about, do you want to talk about the matchups? Like if you have a stronger grip, generally you're going to need more body rotation to square that club up at impact. And if you have a neutral and or weaker grip, you're going to need to manipulate the club more with your release with the hands or the forearms, however you want to say it. Not flippy, but rotation, like knuckles rotation.
So then that's comes exactly into what I was saying then, which would be if you're weaker, you need more flexion in your lead wrist, right?
Yep.
And then then there might be some, what is it called, supination, or when it starts to roll and go like that, or
So the easiest way to think if you want to do supination or pronation, so supination is like you said, that palm is facing up, like if you were holding some soup in your palm. So that's so when you rotate, so that's creating that palm or the soup ladle, essentially, and then pronation, of course, the other way. But one of the major things is it's all connected, whether it's you're gripping it in the palm rather than the fingers, and whether it's you have a weak grip and now you're hitting slices and you don't know why. So, so you fix your grip pressure, you fix the grip itself, so now it's in your fingers. But then if you have a neutral or weak grip and you're still hitting a slice, think about or check your forearms in the backswing. So you might be rotating or opening the forearms in the backswing. And in my opinion, there's only one time that you get to roll your forearms. And if you do it in the backswing, it's not going to happen in the downswing, hence why your hands get ahead, club face is open, path usually has to come over the top, and we just create a big banana slice. So if in our backswing, our forearms roll open, that face rolls open, as you can see my hands, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the hands roll open. So when we do in the downswing, we can't really time it, or else we'd have to really extremely manipulate the club with our forearms. And that's kind of what we want to get away from. We want the most repeatable golf swing possible.
I like that. So then I would just, I guess my grip, my considered optimal grip, or my favorite way to grip the club, is to let my left hand hang free, or lead hand. So if you're a lefty, it'd be your right hand, or your top hand on your grip. Let that hang free, which tends to be a stronger top hand grip. And the idea behind that is just if you get set up and your left arm's hanging free and relaxed, then it's easier for you to then return it to that similar position. So then in theory, the club face is going to be more square, and you're not going to have to do as much movement or work with your arms. You're basically just letting it hang, working back with your body, and then letting it return to that position on the way through.
But no, I mean, if you look at like 𝐓𝐢𝐩𝐻𝐽𝐡, his Instagram page, you'll see a lot of his players, he has swing similar to Matt Wolff, because I mean, it's popular, it makes sense, but you'll see them, they take the club away outside, hands down, and then a lot of the players are young, flexible, great athletes. Their chest and their hips are wide open at impact because of how strong those wrist angles were, so they need to square that up. Now, if you go ahead and watch the Champions Tour, you're not going to see many of the guys over, 50? Champions Tour is 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see many guys over 50 with incredible like chest and hip range opening at impact. They've simplified the golf swing. Like Freddie Couples' swing is so, like it just looks perfect. Like it's literally just transition to here, arms almost just lift, and then he just comes through naturally, and his chest moves with that lead arm right to the target. So
yeah,
It depends on your or your player profile, how you learn the game and what you're trying to do with it now. Your grip might work for you, but it's never bad to go through as to why or what you're doing or how it affects your golf game or swing as a whole. So
And Freddie Couples has a very strong grip.
Go ahead.
But this just furthers what you were just talking about. Freddie Couples has a very strong grip.
Right.
So I guess, yeah, I mean, you can probably relate it to a stronger grip. Your goal is to have more passive arms. I mean, they're still doing their job. You're just not manipulating them as much.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're kind of working with your body, as opposed to a weaker grip. You're going to be forced to use them properly and get a nice a little more flexion, square the face up, and a little more flip.
So now let me throw this at you. I've seen players that are younger, more athletic, have a lot of speed. If they have, what would it be, a strong grip? Or no, a weak grip. I see a lot of players with a weak grip.
Yeah, like Morikawa, Rahm.
Right. And if they have a really fast lower body, I feel like then timing becomes an issue. You know what I mean? For a player that's swinging slower and a far better tempo, they can kind of afford to utilize the arms more because they're almost going the same speed as the body. Whereas I remember when I played with a weak grip and a really fast body, my hands would just get way behind. You've seen it, like hands inside, I'm hitting blocks, or I have to flip it to get it back online. And I think that was because my body was so quick and my grip didn't match up for what I was trying to do with the ball. So subconsciously, I just tried to manufacture what would work. And because of poor timing, it was either a block or a big push draw. So I guess there wasn't really a question there, but it was more so kind of like a little case study, if you would, that like I think players that are faster have to really focus on tempo more if they're going to utilize a weak grip. Or they can just hit that kind of like a pull cut like DJ does, and it's just a power fade.
Is DJ's top hand grip weak or?
No, he's strong as hell.
He's strong, yeah. Okay.
Both, but he's wicked open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strong grip means open chest, open hips. You can really rip through it. But if you have a wicked weak grip and you go ahead and rip through it, I just don't think the hands are going to catch up in time because the face is open, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up Jon Rahm's swing quick for sure. Yeah, like Jon Rahm's grip is like his top palm is like pointed at the target. Is weak as shit.
His top palm is pointed at the target?
Or sorry, not palm, back of his hand.
Back of his hand? Yeah, okay. And he's quick through the ball. Like he's got.
And then he just bows the crap out of his wrist because he's got it. It's square. Yeah.
Crazy. So that's just great athleticism. That's a tour pro golfer.
Yeah.
So as amateurs, we're definitely going to try to minimize risk and maximize consistency.
I would advise, I think the simplest way to grip a golf club is let your lead arm hang. Naturally, it's usually a stronger grip, and then kind of roll with it from there. And I always like to then have the right hand working. My right palm is the club face, have that pointing more at the target, which then makes your right hand grip a little weaker, which kind of cancels out your stronger top hand grip. But
that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think we will end with that. Is there any closing notes from today? We're going to look at grip pressure, find out what your grip pressure is from 0 to 10, and think about how that's possibly affecting or creating your shot shape. The type of grip, if you're strong, weak, or neutral, and what you would like to do or try. And then first and foremost probably is going to be where you're gripping the club, or how, I should say. So more on the fingers for everything besides putter, in my opinion. And then
Yep.
on the lifeline to be an extension of that forearm. And because it's more of a pendulum rather than a lever, if you would.
And let's just leave it at this simple. If you tend to slice the ball, try strengthening your grip.
Definitely. Check grip pressure, where you're gripping it, and how. Weak, neutral, or strong.
Totally.
We'll leave it with that. Strong.
Should we define? I feel like we never technically defined. Did we define like a weak, a strong, and a neutral grip? I don't think we did.
So to explain a grip, and if it's whether it's weak, strong, or neutral, would be we're going to look at our top hand. So for a righty, it's going to be your left hand, most likely your glove hand. For a lefty, it's going to be your right hand, that top hand. So when gripping the club, if we're going to look on from a face-on position, or you as a golfer just looking down at your hand, that would be better. That perspective is much better. So when you're looking down at your grip and how you're gripping the club, if you see one knuckle on that lead hand, your first knuckle, your pointer finger knuckle, that's going to be weak. Now, two knuckles, that's going to be neutral. And then more than two, you're going to see three, if not even four. Some players see four. That's going to be the strong grip. So just play around with it like that, and you can almost adjust knuckle by knuckle as to how you're going to grip the club, what feels natural, how it gets you in position at the top, and then how you have to deliver it back to square based on rotation or manipulation of the forearms.
Yeah, and then I guess another way that you could look at it is the stronger that your top hand grip is, the more the back of your hand or the emblem of your glove is pointed towards the sky. Mm-hmm. And then as it gets weaker, it points more and more towards your target.
100%. And solid. That's back to basics for you right there. You work on alignment all the time, work on grip all the time, and work on posture and setup all the time. And I think you'll be amazed how truly, if you do the basics a lot and properly, you'll be amazed, I think, how many shots that will shave. Shot shaver.
Yep.
Would you agree?
I would. I would also agree that all those fundamentals are very, very important. Keep them in check, keep track of them, and then most importantly, match them all up, which could be episodes to come. But
episodes to come, definitely. Well, Doctor, I'm glad you concur on today's session.